We're going to make two different types of plates. We're going to make a push plate, which has been pushed into and it has that kind of rim, or a plate on the slump mold, which you'll have to kind of add your own foot to that. And so these are the things that you need for the push plates, and then this is the mold for the hump mold or the slump mold for these guys. So the first thing you want to do is decide on which one you're going to make. If you're using one of these, you need to get the foam template that goes with it to cut your outline. And then if you're using this, you can do any shape that you can come up with. We're going to cut our slabs straight off the block. You make sure the green part is pressing down on the top, and then you pull it through. I'm going to make sure that the clay is wrapped back up if I'm the last person. Okay, once you have your slab out, we're going to use these rulers. They're about 1/4 of an inch, and we're going to use them to roll our slabs. You can use one of these PVC rollers. Now I'm going to compress my slab by spraying it a couple times with water and use a rib. This is kind of like in the pottery wheel when we compress the bottoms to keep it from cracking. So I pulled down, and now I'm going to pull up. Whoops. And then I'm going to go from side to side. Now that's nice and smooth. I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing on the back. Down, up, side, side. Okay. So you guys will leave the rolling area and go to your seats to make room for people over there. Okay, so I'm doing this one. I'm gonna place it on my clay. If you're doing a hump mold, you can save some of this for the ring. So just try to center it towards the side, and then you're gonna cut out. Use your tool, use a needle tool, and hold your tool so that it goes directly up and down, or you can use a fettling knife. Okay, this is just a makeup sponge, and I don't know, it really doesn't matter. You can probably, it might even be better to wait and do this afterwards, but I'm gonna go ahead and use it to smooth out the edges, or if there are any lines from the rib, you can smooth that away. Okay, so I'm gonna line this back up. You guys are going to be working with your clay on these mats, which will be perfect because you can come over, you're going to come over to this foam station. You're going to bring yours and carefully flip it onto the foam and peel your mat back. And then, let's see, where's my sponge? I'm going to use this opportunity to clean up this side a little bit. Here's the fun part. I've got the top cleaned off or cleaned up around the edges. So I'm going to get my stamp that goes with the matching template. I'm going to line it up in the center as best I can and push. He's kind of stuck in there, so I'm just going to very gently pull back and kind of wiggle it so it keeps its form. And so you're going to let this sit up like this. This has really made a deep bowl because I pushed in so deeply. If you wanted it to be more like this one, maybe don't press in as much, although I think they do fall a bit, and you can always squish it down a little bit. So ours have these little foam pieces on the back, and you can peel that off. You can see this really isn't cleaned up that well. I don't know if you can tell or not, but I'll clean that up later. So what I'm going to want to do at this point is I'll take this foam guy off and let someone else use this stuff. And then You're going to set him aside. Make sure you put your initials. You have to be pretty careful with these guys at this point. Put your initials on it, and we're going to set it up to dry on a board, and we're going to wrap them in plastic after class so that they can get to leather hard, and then next time we'll be able to carve onto them. But if it's holding its shape pretty well, you can use this time to clean up a little more on the edges. For this one, I'm going to use my own original shape, which you guys can draw and cut something out of the paper that we have and place it on your clay. I'm just going to put mine smack dab in the middle since I have these cuts on the edges. And you're going to go through the same process using a fettling knife or a needle tool to cut out your shape. And then after I've done that, I'm not going to worry about smoothing the edges yet. I'm going to go ahead and put it on the slump mold, and I'll show you how that goes. Okay, at this point, I'm ready to put my piece of clay on the hump mold. It's not a big deal. It's pretty simple, but you do want to make sure that you're carefully peeling your clay off from whatever surface it is you're working on, because you don't want to distort your shape, especially if you've taken the time to carefully make your shape. So you're going to set your piece up on this mold. It's just going to get a slight curve to it, and you can take the time to start smoothing it a bit, and you can also cut a foot. You can do it by rolling a coil, which is, I'm pretty sure, is what I've done on here. Roll a coil and score and slip to attach it. So I'm just going to take one of my extra pieces and I'm going to cut along here. And you can get creative. You don't need to just do a circle on the bottom. So like this one is a coil that's rolled and scored and slipped on. But maybe since this one is more square, I can come up with a way to do a foot that's a little more interesting on that. So what I want you to notice about this is that I'm taking the time to really smooth everything out. I'm making 4 feet. I made sure they're equal size, and then I'm taking the time to smooth each one pretty carefully, and then I'm testing where it looks good on the plate, and now I'm adjusting the size again and making them all a little bit smaller. Now I'm going to score and slip each one by scoring the bottom of the foot and the place on the plate where it goes. We're going to glaze today, and here are the test tiles for our Mako Stroke and Coat underglazes. And you do need 2 to 3 coats. If you notice that the brown test tile, the bottom has 3 coats, the middle has 2, and the top has 1. So make sure that you've smoothed everything down and it looks good before you start underglazing, but you can always touch that up if you need to. Once your underglaze has dried, you can start sgraffitoing with your loop tool.